Hello, my name is Dr. Sarah Jaegers, and welcome to the first weekly Excerpt Wednesday. In addition to a Sunday series, I'm starting where I'm going to talk about various clarinet etudes. I thought that I would start a weekly series where I choose a standard clarinet excerpt and give some tips and suggestions and just offer my interpretation. So for the first weekly Excerpt Wednesday, I decided to choose probably my favorite clarinet excerpt, which is Puccini's Tosca Act 3, aka the aria E Lucevan le Stelle, aka And the Stars Were Shining. It's not asked for in auditions as often as a lot of excerpts are, but it's my favorite, it's beautiful, and it's still a standard clarinet excerpt. First thing I just want to talk about briefly, if you have an audition coming up or you're about to play Tosca and you don't have an A clarinet, you'll have to transpose. However, I still want you to make sure that you are practicing the music as written, otherwise when you do get an A, you're going to be used to the wrong fingerings. Other than that, you want to watch out for undertones in this excerpt. So I want you to think about really just aiming your air low and supporting your sound. Just like any other orchestral excerpt, listen to tons of recordings, and then develop your own interpretation from there. But you need to have an idea of what the standard is first and where people tend to linger, where they tend to push forward. Obviously, if you're playing Tosca, you'll be going along with whatever the singer is doing. But in an audition, you have a little bit more freedom for your own interpretation, but still be willing to adjust and be flexible because they might ask you to play it differently. Pay attention to all of the markings we have written in the music. A lot of rubato. We've got dolcissimo, vagamente, so very sweet, vaguely, ambiguously. Appassionato molto, so very, very passionately. It's an opera. It's going to be very exaggerated. We need to embody the character who's singing the aria, which is Mario Cavaradossi. And he is a painter, and long story, but he's about to be executed, unfortunately. Basically, he's trying to write a letter to his girlfriend Tosca, who's a singer, and he's just remembering the happy times they had together. Roughly translated into English, the words that the character is singing during this excerpt are, "And the stars were shining, and the earth was scented, the gate of the garden creaked, and a footstep grazed the sand. Fragrant she entered and fell into my arms." So remembering those happy times together, and he's just depressed because he won't be able to be with her anymore when he's dead. So there's a lot there. It's about life and death, very passionate, a lot of exaggeration, a lot of rubato. It's really sad. So make sure that you're really feeling it. Another thing to think about is just making sure that you're setting up your solo correctly. So you've got a couple of harp notes that are leading into where you play, and you really need to have those in your mind and continue your phrase from there. Again, just like any other excerpt, you want to hear the music in your head as you play, but knowing how to start is particularly important. I want you to also pay attention to this section where we've got some repeated eighth note Bs and a couple bars later some repeated eighth note Gs. So right there, I want you to definitely think about those Gs as an echo of the Bs. So we've got that section with the Bs, diminuendo, and then very softly just echo that same idea. The kind of climax to this excerpt is 3 bars from the end, and I want you to be really careful about where you're leading in this phrase and where you're putting the loudest point. So as far as length on a note, that high C is going to get the most length that we're adding. However, I want you to make sure that you don't just crescendo up to that C and diminuendo from there, because the crescendo actually goes to that F. And I want you to make sure that you really push the crescendo all the way through to those 2 Fs and then come back down from there. Another thing to keep in mind, the third measure from the end is with clarinet 2. A good second will be able to support you and it'll be fine, but just know that you're playing together there. So now I will give my interpretation of this excerpt, and I hope that you found this useful, and I will see you next Wednesday.